Welcome to Limitless Recovery. This is going to be our first podcast, so we're going to do some introductions. We're going to just kind of tell you a little bit about ourselves and just kind of naturally dive into some conversation that, normal people would have if you ran into someone on the streets. We're going to kind of talk about why we're here and what we have done to get here, the ups and downs throughout all this. But for now, we're just going to do the introductions. And for that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to my good friend Amanda.
Hey guys, I'm Amanda, also known as the Most Wanted RN, and we have started this podcast and Limitless Recovery because we have both been through some things. We have been through hard times, some trauma, and we've overcome some things and have some stories to share with you. So there might be some trigger warnings. There will be some things that we're going to talk about that might be kind of hard, but we want to keep it real and raw with you guys so that you can relate. And hearing other people's stories helped me so much in the beginning of recovery. And I know that, not only people in addiction go through hard times, but there are going to be, everybody goes through hard times, right? So there's going to be things that we can talk about that might inspire you, help you, just to be able to relate to somebody. So, um, I want to start off by asking my new friend Hoagie some questions because what you guys might not know is that this is our first time meeting. We are recording our first time meeting and getting to know each other, which we thought would be really cool and unique. Something we just, and I feel like God puts people in your life at a certain time for a certain reason. And I know some of you guys may not be to a place where you even believe in God, and that is totally okay. I don't know what I believe, and that's okay. I just know that there's something bigger in my life. And I believe that Hoagie was put in my life for a reason to start this podcast because it's something I've been talking about for years now. And it's been a huge dream of mine. And what better way to take action than to take action? So, I want to ask him a couple of questions real quick. How long have you been sober, Hoagie?
So we're going on 140 plus days right now, and I am Cali sober. So I attended rehab in Calistoga, California for 30 days, and I took it really seriously. That's a whole nother discussion, but we got out and I changed every single thing. I got rid of my whole circle. I changed my job, my attitude, pretty much my whole personality, and I moved back to Kansas City where I was. And since then, I have not drank. I have ran into an enormous barrier of just employment, but I'm still here when we're not making excuses for it. So there's always bad days, and there's been good days as well. It's just one of those things, but it's very early sobriety, and I'm only here with 140 days because of people like Amanda and people that I have been able to lean on. It's detrimental to be a loner when you're trying to grow sometimes, just because the community has a lot more to offer than we think it does. Um, Kind of touching on what she said, everybody gets put in your path for a reason. We didn't know each other for a very long time, but these things kind of clicked, and it just kind of keeps pushing in the right direction, and we have the same vision. So we connected with this, and we're keeping the ambition alive by just pushing it forward.
So the reason, you guys are probably thinking, y'all are crazy. You don't know each other. How do you know this thing's not going to flop? And we don't. But that's what I'm saying. What better to take action and move forward than to do it? Just to do it. Because you can't wait and sit around until you feel right, until things line up perfectly and beautifully for you to do it. That's like getting up and starting to go to the gym. You're not going to feel like getting off the couch the first few times, the
Facts.
first long time. It takes a lot of practice, build some muscle memory. You got to move in order to feel better. There's a mantra that I always say is mood follows action. So after you take some positive action and do something, you're going to feel better. Because isn't that why we used in the first place? Is because we felt like shit.
Yeah.
I was definitely mentally ill. I was anxious all the time, like always anxious. People made me nervous. People made me angry. Yeah. So I had to use in order to feel comfortable, in order to feel normal. That I had to. So I don't think that I used in order to be a bad person because I wanted to hurt people or even just because I wanted to party. In the end, it wasn't like that. It was in order to try to feel normal, you know? Um, and one thing I love about you, Hoagie, is that you are in early recovery and that you are Cali sober because I want to show people that you can have solid recovery. And I honestly want to talk about like some of the issues that are in early recovery because that's when it's hard, right? And employment is a huge pit stop when you're in early recovery. I had to start working at a restaurant, and I worked with people that I knew in early recovery, and restaurants aren't always safe. And you and I have talked about that. Like, it's not necessarily the right person that has a serious history with alcoholism or even, the bar scene or anything. So that's just what I did because I was working with people in recovery, and I was barely making maybe $300 a week, which is really not enough to get by. But I didn't have a car payment because I rode my bicycle to and from work and everything. So I just remember what it was like in early recovery. And so you're going to be able to talk about all of that kind of stuff, which people are going to be able to relate to you a whole lot easier than they are going to relate to me, which I have almost 12 years in recovery. And I guess I can dive into a little bit of how I'm here and why I'm here, and just why I want to share my story, which is that I was actually, my rock bottom was 12 years ago. So my recovery date is April 13th, 2014. And the day before that, I was listed on Alabama's Most Wanted. And no, I didn't hurt anyone. Well, you say you don't hurt anyone in recovery, right? But you are, you're hurting your family and your friends because they're terrified they're going to lose you. You're stealing from people. I remember thinking I wasn't hurting anyone, and that's just crazy. But no, I didn't kill anyone, I should say. I don't even know if I can say that on a podcast, but I didn't.
It's a safe place.
Anyway,
We can talk about whatever we want.
it is a safe place. And I just spoke on that other podcast with Rachel Elizabeth Slocum, and they let us talk about anything, everything. And so that's what I love about the podcast space, is that you can't do that on Facebook and TikTok and all of that. You have to guard what you say. And that's not cool, because the things we live through are traumatic and need to be talked about. I needed to hear other people that had been through hard times,
That is
because
true.
I wasn't going to relate in. Yeah.
That is true. And
So,
that's one of those
I
things
was,
that you touched on, was the early recovery and how hard it is in the beginning, which is a lot of the times why people relapse. So having the both of us of the early recovery and late recovery and still trying is so big. And it's showing the connection of both of them, because there's such a big bridge in between. That's what we're talking about. We're not talking about, and we're also going to talk about the active recovery and the active addiction. But that in between time of this 140 days, 10 days, 1 day to 12 years to 20 years to 30 years, there's a lot of stuff that we still go through actively sober. And it's traumatizing that we don't have a crutch to lean on. So, yeah, it's kind of important to
absolutely.
feel, it's definitely important to feel comfortable. And that's why we made this space, was to be able to just kind of talk about it and not have the guards, so to speak, in place.
Exactly. So I guess I'll circle back to being on the most wanted, because that can be
Yes,
shocking when you hear that.
please.
So I had gone to rehab the day before, and somebody sent me a Facebook Messenger my second day in rehab and said, "Is this you?" And it was a picture of my mugshot, and said the Alabama's Most Wanted, Crime Stoppers, and there was a reward for me. So I was terrified, honestly. That wasn't, now I talk, when I just said that, it sounded like I think it's like a cool big deal. And it only is because it's in my past. Let me tell you, going through that, having my picture up there on the 10 o'clock news and everything was really embarrassing. Because one of the things is, I didn't come from a bad childhood. I came from a solid family. I had a good upbringing. There was no excuse for me to be the way I was. So I was like mortified when this was put up on the TV. I felt like I'd been an embarrassment to my whole family. But I had gotten a sponsor that same day. And what she said to me, and I remember it so clearly, I can see her saying it, was, if you want to stay sober, you have to be willing to go to any lengths. And that includes turning yourself into jail. And that just hit me, because I was willing. I had to change the way I was. I couldn't keep going. I was, I didn't want to live anymore, and I wasn't going to die, if that makes sense. Like, I was just continuing to go in this awful life, and I felt like I was in a living hell. I thought I was already in hell,
What
if that
made
makes
you
sense. So,
change? What changed right there? Because that's like everyone has that moment, but what was your moment where you decided like jail was better than dying on the streets?
that's a good question, because jail is terrifying to me. Some people are comfortable in there because you get, three square, or what is it, three squares and a cot
Yeah,
or
three hots
something
in a
like that.
cot.
Whatever that saying is, you get your meals. Yeah, three hots and a cot. So, but not me. So that's a big question to ask me, is what made me think that jail would be better than rock bottom, especially when I wasn't scared of dying, you know? I
Exactly.
wasn't. I would have welcomed the idea, honestly, at that point. I just didn't want my family to lose another child, which my brother passed away, and we'll talk about that like later on. That's a whole nother story. Um, so what made me think that jail was going to be better than what the way to continue on the way I was living was, man, I was homeless. I had nowhere to live. I was sleeping on the sidewalk, on church steps, I was, trying to go to the Salvation Army and getting kicked out of that. And when I talk about the incomprehensible demoralization, they talk about that in the AA Big Book. It was something,
Yes.
I really remembered. Man, I felt like below a piece of shit. I hated myself. I was so tired of being homeless. And the only reason I liked being homeless was because I felt like I was free. I didn't have to have a job or do anything, but I had no money. And being addicted, I had to have at least heroin or alcohol, at least one of the two every single day, all day. It was like a thing. I'd wake up every single morning dope sick, every single morning with my nose running, the chills, shitting myself, stomach aches, anxiety. And I would have to go out and figure out how to make money, which included shoplifting, which I'm always scared of going back to jail anyway.
Right.
Stealing from my mom. I broke into my mom's house, stole checks from her. And in fact, that's how I did end up on the most wanted, was my mom had to press felony charges on me from stealing checks out of her checkbook. And she was backed into a corner because I bounced her checking account because it was a brand new account that she had started with a brand new, really good job that she had gotten. And they said, you can either choose your job or you press charges on your daughter. And she was going
What do
to
you do?
pick
Yeah.
losing her job. She was not about to do that, but she made the decision to save my life. And so I was so sick of living that way. And I had gone to a meeting the day before and heard people talking about feeling like I had felt, and they were living these good lives. Like, they had a job, they had a house, they were able to start having kids and like afford all that. And I just wanted a normal life. And I felt like the only way to that was through it, was
Yeah.
going through all the beginning shit, and it was going to be facing my consequences, and going through early recovery, which is hard, so I don't even there. I'm sure I can come up with some more that was at my rock bottom, and we're going to discuss some more. But yeah, I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired. I really just was. I was worn down. And so jail didn't feel like a place of rest for me. It wasn't. It was constantly on guard, worried about people picking fights with me. People don't like me in jail because I'm bubbly and like look
Right.
innocent, and I don't look hard. People don't like me in jail at all. So I get bullied, and have had people try to jump me before, and it doesn't feel like a safe place at all to me. So that was just a really good question, though. And I'm going to ponder on that so I can talk about it more later on. Um, what made you decide to go to rehab?
It's been something, it's funny because I feel like a lot of people in recovery and active addiction, you sit there and you get to a point where it's not fun anymore. Like I was just,
Yeah.
my drug of choice was alcohol. I smoke weed, but weed's never ruined my life. Alcohol has. And what started as just something I normally did, for fun turned into daily daily habitual things, and also reward systems were just, oh, I should drink. Oh, I'm having fun, so let's drink. So it really just ruined my dope, like to the point that I just was not having fun at all. And my drinking got to the point that I
Yeah.
was smashing those little sleeves of 99s. I was drinking a fucking sleeve of those easy within like 30, 45 minutes. I was just drinking them. I'd have like one of those little Red Bulls, and I would have half the Red
Wow.
Bull left and the whole sleeve would be gone. And I wouldn't even let it process. I would just wait, and next thing you know, I'm blacked out. I don't remember much. I'm having a good time playing my games, but it got to the point that I was just like, it's enough. It's done. And I spent years not looking in the mirror, just didn't like myself. I spent years abusing people I loved and just, running away from myself and making excuses. And finally I was like, I'm fucking better than that. Like I really am, but I just don't know any other way. So we had the opportunity to go and I ran with it. And when I went into rehab, there's a lot of different faces there. It's the most diverse crowd I've ever been in, and you get what you put into it in life in general. So when I was active addiction, I wasn't getting nothing out
Right.
of life. I was just mad, and I thought it was everyone else's issue. I thought everybody else gave me that problem. Like, oh well, I was just dealt this shit card, and I just drink, man. Like everybody else, they have worse things, but it's like alcohol's a slow killer. It'll kill you, and it's hard to like. Yeah, I can even touch on that because I did a 13-day you know, cold turkey where I was actively drinking like that, and then I stopped, and how dangerous that was, and how it's not medically recommended.
What?
Yeah, it was crazy. It's not something you should do. And I did that before I went into rehab. And so yeah, actually that's why I stopped. That's the reason right there. 13th day, I'm dating Anna, right? And she's like, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm killing it." She caught me in a lie. She caught me in a lie. She said, "I smell the alcohol on you," but she didn't say that the day of. She let me sit in that. And then the next day she texted me. She's like, "Hey, don't fucking lie to me ever." And I was like, "Dude, I'm not a fucking liar. What am I doing?" And then I'm like, also I did 12 days sober. Like, it sucked. And I was shaking and my blood pressure was through the fucking roof. And like, I should have went to the hospital, but I didn't have insurance. I didn't have anything. I didn't know. And hospitals scared me. So I thought I could do it. And that was the moment that like
Fair.
Dr. Bob and, everybody talked about was like, I can't fucking do it alone. I can't do it. I did it and I lied, and that's not who I am. Like, why am I lying? So it took me a minute to like, okay, I need help, and I'm willing to do whatever the fuck is possible to make this not a thing anymore. And when I went to rehab, we were full capacity. There was 65 people in there, man. Like there was, and I went in detox. I went in day one going to meetings. You had 7 days you could fuck around and just sit around and detox. But I was like, fuck it, I'm bringing my notebook. Like I gotta figure this shit out. Like and so, I have a
Mm-hmm.
full 80-page notebook that I took on, just the psychology of it, the neurology of it, and finding out like, okay, my dopamine receptor. It's not just me. It wasn't me being broken. It was me feeding myself poison and breaking my nervous system and my brain to the point that like nothing was enjoyable. So why run through that life? And now that I'm, this is still early recovery. So like the emotions are so high and so low, but like I'd rather have that than
Oh yeah.
that numb, and like that numb it's comfortable, but sitting with that uncomfortable is so much more beautiful, like you sit there and you actually can walk out and be like,
Yeah.
look, man, like the life, like the birds are singing instead of being like hungover and be like, why the fuck are the birds screaming at
Yes.
3 a.m.? Like, like what is going on? Like everything used to make me mad. And now it's like, I'm noticing small triggers that I still have that would make me mad, but now I'm noticing like that's just a me thing. Hold on. Like that's just because that's how I used to do it. Like, so now I got to rewire everything. But early recovery into late recovery, if you don't do the work, you're not going to do shit about it. You're just still going to do that. Oh, you go back into the old habit. You're like, oh, well, like it's just way easier to just drink about it today. And it really fucking is. Every day it's easier to use. Every day it's easier. It really is. That's the easy way out. But also, that's also what we know. It's comfortable. Kind of like you touched on, like the homelessness and
But
then like going into the system. Like I know people that are more comfortable living in a tent than would ever be comfortable paying rent, you know?
mm-hmm.
Oh,
No, and you talked about that window of willingness, where that is sometimes it's a short window. And so I always tell people to jump on it. Like you get that willingness to go to rehab or you want to stay sober that day and you actually are going to take the action, you got to do it that day. And so I always encourage people to like take action today. Like even if it's small action,
true.
even if it's just as much as going outside and listening to the birds chirp
Yes.
because yeah, I love when you said that because I didn't even hear the freaking birds chirp when I was out there, even though I lived outside. I didn't even hear it. And like just yesterday, I walked outside on my lunch break, heard the birds chirp, and it felt like something good, feeling the sunshine, getting a little bit of vitamin D, and like taking a positive action for myself. Working on some stuff yesterday felt really good to actually like accomplish something. So, but yeah, that window of willingness can be really short. It's going to shut on you. And then it's so easy just to say, fuck it, I'm going to go get some alcohol. And you did say that was the easier way, but like, is it? Is it easier? Because I know right now you're in early recovery and it is hard, and like those triggers are major. They feel so real, you know. And late recovery can be just as hard. I'm telling you, you go through life, like life is going to happen in long-term sobriety or early recovery. It doesn't matter, but it does get easier, I think. I I'm not riding such a high and low roller coaster, and I'm not chasing, still trying to fix my emotions, because I still, early sobriety, I'm still just trying to feel better, you know. I wish I had just gotten on that pink cloud that some people got
Hmm.
on, so I could just ride that out, you know. And some people say like the pink cloud is bad. No, you need to be brought down to reality. And I'm like, tell people, no, you need to ride that pink cloud as long as you possibly can, you know, and it may come crashing down, and that's okay. But um it's pretty cool when you start to get excited about recovery and the actions that you're going to take, and start envisioning the life that you want for yourself, and realizing that actually I can build this. I can become that person. Actually, I'm not a piece of shit. And I love that you said that you're
Yes.
not a liar. Like, you know who you are. Alcohol has turned you, you know, turned you into a liar even just for that day, but it's not who you are at your core. You're becoming who you are, you know, by
Yes.
being the way that you want to be and
Yep.
taking action. It's not it may not naturally come to you, but it does take work to become that person. And I'm so proud of you and the work that you've done. I've only known you for like well, I've only known you for about 20 minutes, but you know, we've been talking for like 2, 3 weeks. It's been really a short time, but I've seen you change and grow in that time. I've seen you go through a hard week and go through some hard days, and you stayed, you know, clean through it, and or sober through that. And I'm so proud of you for that. So and I feel like some of the listeners are probably like, you guys are crazy. How did y'all connect or whatever? And I want to say I was he Hoagie supported me by, we met on an online recovery platform, like in a group, and he was supporting me through messages and or just comments, I should say. And I was getting really nervous about speaking on this podcast for Rachel Elizabeth Slocum. And I know a lot of you listeners and watchers know who she is. She's a force in recovery, and she
Yeah, she
is
is.
hilarious. So she's so relatable. I love following her. I've been following her since like 2020 at least, since her like very beginning, when she started making some of those funny reels talking about her butt, her Manama Sandra.
Yeah.
If you know, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but I was really nervous about speaking on this podcast, and you were telling me to take a deep breath, put on some music. Like, you know, some stuff because you're in early recovery that are tools you can use. You really remember all that stuff. And because you were paying attention, you've got those 80 pages of notes that you took, and you've been doing the work. You really helped me more than you know. And so I was like, you know what? I think we'd be a good team. Just the way that we've been able to communicate and the big differences that we have in our story are going to be able to help a lot of people. So that is sort of why, you know, I was like, hey, we got to do this. We got to start a podcast together.
Yes.
And you're like,
Yes.
okay. It just kind of has literally unfolded for us. And sometimes I think the when things just lay out and it seems not easy. This is hard work that we're doing, but it's fallen in place.
Right.
And there's going to be hiccups. Like, obviously, we're going to have to work through things, but things have kind of fallen into place. And that's where I feel like the universe is kind of lining things up for us, because I think that this podcast is going to be able to help a lot of people, right? You know, and we're doing it because we both have that passion, because we both want other people to not have to live that life anymore, because it's not necessary. You don't have to stay in active addiction. You can change today. Today can be day one for you. And
Today.
then,
Yep.
you know, 144 days from now, you can have 144 days and be starting a podcast or following your dream of whatever that is. Like, what hope is that? That's huge.
It's huge. And
So,
that's something that a lot of people struggle with, is the hope. And kind of circling back with all that too is like, you said it's all falling in place. And I think that all depends on the outlook for the person, and we're going to just circle back on all this because like the pink cloud, the falling into place. When I was in rehab, they discussed the pink cloud. When I was in there, they also discussed trust the process. And that class pissed me off so bad. It was the most pointless class to me, in my opinion. And it didn't teach you really anything. And I think that was the point, was like, here it is. And it's like, all right, what do I get out of that? Well, you fucking trust the process. Well, that time frame, I was fighting actively for more time for my rehab. Like I only got approved for 15 days. I wanted 30. I wanted all the fucking tools I could get. So I was advocating for myself. I was on the phone with, I wasn't supposed to do all this, but like, it was a new healthcare system that they were providing. So they didn't even like know how to do that. My treatment support team, it was a new system. So I'm like advocating for myself too. Like, hey, I need this. Like I will go, like if you need me to go relapse again, like that's not an option to me. Like this works once. I get one chance and this is what it is. We're going to make it count. And that trust the process class pissed me off. And that next day I got approved for my fucking extension. And then on top of everything just falls into place. But at the moment,
Hell yeah.
yeah, at the moment, I'm over there pissed off, and I'm thinking, well, this is stupid. But it's like, okay, that worked. Like it did work, but I need to like take a minute, expect the worst, hope for the best, land somewhere in between. And then, they touched on that pink cloud and like, I'm sitting on a blue cloud. I'm sitting on a cloud that's fucking real. Like the pink cloud's cool. Like it's great. And I felt that energy. And then I dissected it a little bit and I was like, okay, what's real and what's not, cause like early sobriety, you have so many emotions to dissect. And I am so high and so low, like you said, and like, later down the road, but also like, I'm not scared to reach out and be like, I don't know what the fuck I'm feeling right now. And I'm also smart enough to say, I'm angry. I'm an angry human, but why am I angry? What's the roots? What am I protecting? And I'm starting to ask these questions a little bit of like the power of why. And like, so like, why am I on a pink cloud? Well, cause it's not pink, it's blue and it's a real cloud, and it's like, it's something that I am passionate about and
Yeah.
we can do and we can make a difference. But just like you said, fucking jump on that cloud. If it goes by and you have an opportunity, jump on it. If you have a positive force in your life that's like, hey man, today's just for today, man. Like, let's just do it together. Ride that wave. Cause that's all sometimes it takes. Like I had the lowest lows still. And if I didn't have my support system, I don't think I'd be able to push through all this. Like, especially early recovery, I'm behind on tax. I'm so far behind on life for a 34-year-old individual, but it's actively, I'm working it, but it's so scary in the beginning, and like, again, like that's comparative to who?
Yeah.
Comparative to who? Like 34-year-old, a lot of the best people in the world started at 34 and made amazing things.
Yep.
So stop limiting ourselves. And that's what this is all about, essentially. But let's talk about, you said you're in the healthcare industry now, and that's something that scares me so much. Like, how is going from the other side where, like, were you scared? Were you scared when you were in, like, active addiction? Were you scared to, like, go get yourself taken care of? And now you're on the other side. Do you see that? Do you see that, like, draw?
Yeah, so I didn't trust going to the hospital because every time I went to the hospital, they put me in restraints or put me in the psych ward. I'm serious. I've been in the psych ward so many times. I was definitely mentally ill. I was not healthy at all. So I didn't trust the healthcare system. And it wasn't so much that I was scared they were going to give me the wrong medicine or give me kill me. I was just scared they were going to lock me up. And I didn't trust
Right.
anyone, that no matter what they said. And so being on the other side of that, I have patients all the time, and I work in med surge. So I just take care of people that might have been coming out from surgery, might have just had a stroke, or a heart, procedure or something like that. Most of them are awake and walkie talkies, but we have so many people that are coming off the streets, like detoxing off alcohol, which is very dangerous, or, coming in with chest pain because they smoke too much crack or whatever. And a lot of times they're not willing. They don't trust us. They don't trust me. But sometimes I tell my story to my patients, and that's okay. My manager knows about that and she encourages it. And she loves that I'm in recovery and I'm able to help people in that like therapeutic sense, more
Yes.
so
No,
than
that's
just like going in
huge.
and giving the meds. Yeah, and it makes me feel so good. So being
Yes.
on the other side of it is, and I don't know if I help anybody, but I've planted some seeds and I've got people, some of my patients actually follow me on Facebook and like say that I've like literally helped them. And that just feels really good to be able to say that I did that. Like, I don't know, to be able to be a nurse, having come for, I'm a nurse at the same hospital I've been in restraints, tied to the bed, in the psych ward, in. And that is such a huge turn of events, right? That's
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Um,
That is crazy.
yeah, yeah. So, and I still don't trust everyone in the healthcare system. It does, I trust me. I know that I'm honest. I'm really thorough and I advocate for my patients in a major way, but that's because I've got empathy and compassion because of everything I've been
Right.
through. And I'm grateful that I didn't become a nurse in my younger years. I've gotten accepted to nursing school 3 times. Once right out of college, once while I was sober for 7 years in a cult, which we are going to dive
That's a
into
whole, we
definitely.
cannot
Um,
wait.
but I did get accepted to nursing school then, and then didn't follow through because I was scared. And I didn't actually start nursing school this time until I was 34, Hoagie. Okay.
See,
So
there it is.
just know, like, listen, I understand, like, especially in early recovery, not trusting the process. That makes a lot of sense. And I remember my sponsor called me one day. I'm freaking out. Something's not working out. She said, Amanda, listen to me. You need to pray. And I got fucking angry because what the fuck is prayer going to do to
Hmm.
fix my
Yeah.
problem? That's how I felt, because it didn't feel like it was. And sometimes it still feels pointless. But what it did for me was build my own faith, is just to have a little trust in something or feel like something else was
Yes.
maybe going to take care of me. And part of my higher power is actually, this is going to sound a little weird, but it's my brother. He's not my higher power, but he's part of it. I feel like the way I envision it is there is some kind of God, there's something bigger. I don't know what it looks like, but I feel like, my brother passed away and I feel like he's God's little sidekick and he's my little guardian angel. And that's probably all wrong. Who knows what God is? I hate when people think they know exactly what it is.
The facts.
I'm like,
Oh
how do you
God.
know?
Yeah,
But
no one knows. No one
like for
knows.
sure.
No, and the faith, that's so
Religion is
big.
really tricky for me.
Yeah, and that's, you talking about that is so funny because we have so much to dive into with religion too, but it's one of those things that in rehab, I've noticed that that was my biggest setback in sobriety in all these different groups is struggling with a higher power and thinking that it had to be a God, a specific God, even like it, I don't, maybe I'm Christian, but I don't believe in all this. Like, so like having those ideations, like when I was in rehab, I prayed and I didn't say, hey God, I said, what's up, bro? Like, show me the way, show me you're real, show me something, show me anything. And I'm not a spiritual person. I'm a spiritual person, but I'm not a religious person. Now, when I'm telling you, when I asked for something, I didn't ask for him to fix anything. I didn't ask for I just asked for a direction and it was shown. And that's a part of like, okay, that's a part of having faith. Like, I don't know what talked to me. I don't know. I heard a voice that I haven't heard in years. I don't know if that was a God. Whose God is that? No one knows. To me, but maybe if that's what you hold on to, absolutely. But the higher power, somebody in rehab, we had a speaker that said his higher power was the question why. And I will never forget that because I can stop at any fucking moment in my life and just be like, why? So if I'm upset, why? And you start dissecting it a little bit more of like, okay, why? Like even an active why? Why am I drinking every day? Well, it's what I'm used to. Why are you used to it? Well, it's what I've done for so long. Why is it what you've done for so long? And eventually you're going to stop making fucking excuses and start finding answers. And then you're going to start to be able to grow from that a little bit at a time. But like you said, I have to walk with grace because we're not gentle to ourselves. You said you're like, oh, I'm not sure if I've helped anybody. And you've been in the healthcare industry as an advocate on the other side, helping multiple people and sharing your journey throughout it. It's helped so many people, including myself. And it's been such a huge stepping stone of showing what is possible and what isn't. You look at someone on the street right now can see you and be like, that's real. And it's so funny because like we'll talk on that too, but you have haters that are like, this isn't fucking real. You're not even a real human being. You couldn't be a nurse. Like you'd fabricate all this bullshit and make up some crazy, like, maybe an active addiction, maybe. And man, there's some people that do that, but you're not. And it's funny that like that means that it means something. Like jealousy is a bad mask to wear, but having something that actually matters to people and having that experience and having, even for me personally, having someone that's inside like you to the healthcare industry that I can be like, yo, I'm fucking scared. And you can be like, dude, this is the process. It's not even that bad. But in my mind, there's fucking laser beams and they're splitting me open and everything's crazy. But like in reality, you're like, dude, it's not even that bad. And like you can talk to a nurse practitioner that can walk you through it a little bit more and they're a little bit more gentle. And like there's options that I wouldn't even think about because it's so fucking scary to me, you know?
Yeah. Isn't it funny how much people help us? But, well, I don't know if you don't like people. I do like people, but people have
It's a fuck.
made me like them
It's a
less. Like, I'm
slippery slope.
jaded. I'm really jaded. But I know how much people do help me and like how much I hear God through other people sometimes, and especially in recovery. I just, we need that support early on because I know I couldn't do it on my own and my own thinking was like super sick. And I found out that I was really powerless. I didn't want to be powerless, and it didn't
Right.
make sense to me because who controls me other than me?
Me, yes.
But I couldn't control my actions. I would say every single night, I would say, I don't want to drink tomorrow, right? I'm not going to drink tomorrow. And then every morning I'd say, I'm not going to drink today, but I have to today because I feel like awful. I can't go through this day like this. So I'll start tomorrow. And that was every day. It was this
Every
vicious
fucking
cycle.
day. And see,
Um,
that's the thing. How did you, and like, you said like you had the jail, right? But like realistically, you already had the mindset in your mind. Like, did you get sick of waking up every day lying to yourself? Because I feel like that was me. I was like, oh shit, like, I got caught in a lie to my spouse, but every day I was saying, I don't want to drink anymore today. Like, there's no fucking way I could do this. And then by the evening, I'd be like, I kind of deserve it.
yeah. Yeah. It, I got sick of that too. Cause I was, yeah, I wanted to stop hurting myself and hurting other people and stop hating myself and all that stuff. But how do you do it without taking a sip of alcohol? I needed that alcohol to like take a
Right,
deep breath. I mean, I literally felt like my life depended on it, but I got so sick of that. Yeah, telling myself a lie too, because it just makes you hate yourself more and
right.
more and feel like more of a piece of shit. Um, gosh, I don't miss that. I don't miss rock bottom. I
No,
just have to remember it fresh in my mind because I don't want to go back there. I don't want to feel so separated from it after all these years to think that I'm invincible from it because I'm not. I'm literally 2 seconds away from a relapse anytime. And I have to know that, like, how easy it could be for me if I like they talk about resting on your laurels and things like that. And
yes,
I know I quote the big book a lot. My base was actually in AA. That was really where I got sober. And I don't go to a lot of meetings anymore. I do online meetings a lot, and I do a
same,
lot of separate, different types of groups
same.
because I don't like being tied into. It's hard for me after being in a cult
Yes,
to
yeah,
feel like I'm not in one when I go to AA. Even though I don't believe that AA itself is a cult, I really don't call it that. I just sometimes the groups and the people feel really sick to me and it's hard. So the online space and doing different groups and like you do Cali Sober and I've done some Cali Sober meetings too. And I just enjoy that space because they accept all routes to recovery,
right.
like medicated assisted treatment, and if you're on marijuana maintenance or Cali sober or whatever you want to call it, because tons of people are being successful with that, like hundreds of thousands of people.
So many.
And I think that needs to be talked about too, because people are like, weed is the devil's lettuce and
Yeah,
it's the,
and actively
gateway
drink
drug.
about it.
And it
Yeah,
is for some people. And it is for some people, there are people that definitely cannot and should not be smoking weed in recovery. You have to be super mindful of that. And even for you, I'm sure you have to be super mindful
yes,
of that.
yes,
I know one girl that's got years in Cali sober that's been talking to me about wanting to, experience abstinence, wanting to try it. And I think that's cool, to try different things in your recovery. It doesn't have to, it's not linear. And I don't think you would ever, like, say you went abstinent or she went abstinent. I don't think she would need to change her recovery date
no,
because she's been in recovery this
right.
whole time.
And that's
You
that's
know what I
huge,
mean?
yeah. And like
Um,
working on recovery and being in recovery is completely different. Being sober is so much different than being in recovery. And I feel like that when you said like, oh, I don't know about people, it's like, yeah, because some people can actively be a piece of shit their whole life and not have a problem with it. Like they really can. And like, a lot of
yeah.
people like myself and maybe you even, but like, we actively feel like shit when we do things that are shitty, but it's still there. Like we still did that. Like in addiction, like I was yelling at people and I was hurting people and it's not like I can take that back. But, it's just one of those things that now I can actually process it a little bit more.
Yeah, and you'll be able to forgive yourself more and more after you've built like more on yourself. You start to see like, hey, I'm a good person. I'm not hurting people anymore. I'm not lying anymore. I'm not lying to myself. you are going to be able to start to feel so much better about yourself and not regret the past so much, you know?
Yes.
Because I still regret things that I've done. I've hurt my mom really bad. I've said some awful things to her, like in her face, that there's moments that I look back on that I wish I could just take back, but I don't like have to ruminate on it anymore. And like I'm not thinking about drinking over it. I don't need to
Right.
like disassociate from it so hard anymore, because I know that like today my mom and I are best friends and she's forgiven me. She hasn't forgotten.
Right.
You know,
Big
there's still
difference.
things that I have done that have hurt her, but she hasn't forgotten. She has forgiven me, and we are literally best friends today after we've been through so much together. Um, so yeah, down you really will stop regretting. You know, for any of the listeners, like you will after time stop to regret your past so so hard, and that's going to help you stay sober, because I talk about it all the time, like needing to feel better, you know, and it's not about feelings. You're not going to feel great sober every day,
Right.
but if you can start to become the person that makes yourself feel better and take actions that make you feel better, like that's huge, because I want to feel okay in my own skin. That was just, I wasn't for so long.
Well, and that's huge too, because I mean, even touching on that, like your recovery is your recovery. I don't care if you went from doing heroin to smoking crack, but lightly, and that's helping you. Like, who am I to judge you? And that's a big thing that a lot of people can't understand. And like, especially in AA groups, NA groups, there's clean versus sober. There's all these fucking stipulations. But the reality is, in the beginning, I was proud of myself. And I went on social media and I was proud and I wanted to advocate that, like, I did it. I did something that I didn't think was possible. I broke a cycle that I was so ingrained in for 10 years that I didn't think it was possible. I wasn't just drinking here and there for a couple of years. Like, this was
Mm-hmm.
10, 12 years of me disassociating from life. And I did that. And I remember to this day, I don't know the guy's name, but I remember somebody said, I had 30 days. I'm like, I have 30 days fucking sober for the first time in my entire life, like for real. And this guy looked at me, he's like, online, he's like, you're not fucking sober. Did you do all 12 steps yet? Do you have a sponsor? Did you attend 90 and 90? I did 3,000 meetings in 14 minutes. My sponsor beat the piss. It's like, bro, like, what the fuck does that have to do with my recovery, dude? Okay, I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
And he's like projecting his problems, like, oh, I had to struggle, so do you. Like, recovery is going to suck for some. And for some people, it's going to be a flick. And honestly, their entire life could be better. Like, and you're still going to have bad days, obviously, but having that range of emotion instead of like us, oh, I just need a drink today. Like, how many emotions are we really going to feel that day if we're using? Anger, maybe hungry if we're hopefully we get hungry at some point. A lot of times I didn't, like we neglect ourselves. We don't give a fuck. So having that to be able to explore is kind of huge. I wanted to talk, since you're in the health industry, like you're still deep into this. Do you still like, what's your triggers, I guess, to this day that you're still like, what the hell? Like, why do I feel like maybe I feel like drinking or using, or, even 12 years down the road, what is it like the hard day? What does that look like?
Yeah. Well, one, hard time that I went through kind of recently, it's been a couple of years ago, but I got in a car wreck and had a miscarriage,
Oh my gosh.
which is huge. Yeah, it's huge. And to go through that, and it was my first pregnancy ever. And it has been, my last one. And it was really kind of my last shot at having a kid. And I was okay with it. In fact, while I was pregnant, I was kind of really scared and felt like I wasn't ready, even though I was like 41 years old and owned a house. Like I was I was ready, but I didn't
Right.
in my mind feel I was terrified, which is pretty normal, I think.
It is.
But yeah, anyway, I didn't think the miscarriage would affect me like it did, but it did. And so there was that emotion to go through, but on top of that was the most severe pain I've ever felt in my life. And I was actually on a Dilaudid PCA pain pump, patient controlled anesthesia, where I had the little button. And that was terrifying, especially for my family, because they knew that had been a drug of choice of mine, like
Right.
early on, like when I was younger. And I was scared too, but in my head, I was like, I'm hell bent on staying sober, which doesn't mean I've got any power over it. I'm still powerless, like just today, like I am any other day. But less, I don't know, it's like less powerless, I guess. I've got so much more faith in recovery. So I don't feel powerless today,
You
but I just
had
do know
y-
that, especially,
no, you had your own. You're saying that you had your own button to push for the drugs, and you still after that didn't have a want for the drug, like after your pain was gone. And you also didn't. You're saying you
yeah, I
also
did want.
didn't. Yeah, you didn't avoid it either. Like you used it for the pain, but then you didn't go back to it, right?
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, which is a huge thing people should talk about in recovery, because like shit's going to happen. You might get in a car wreck, you might lose your legs tomorrow, anything like that. And some people are going to not take pain medicine because they're going to be hardcore clean and sober and all this stuff. And that is great for you. But
Right.
for
For
me,
you.
there was like a level of mercy. I was in a lot of pain.
Yes.
I was in the most pain I had ever been in my life. I begged them to cut my arm off. When you get a spinal injury, it hurts in other
Oh
places.
wow. Yeah, I
So my
did not know.
arm, I wanted it cut off. Yeah, it was crazy. And so it was a level of mercy for myself. I didn't have to go through it so hard. So why go through it? Why go through it
Right.
like that? And so what I did was, like, I'm in the hospital. I'm taking, I'm on this, and they send me home with a prescription with a ton of Dilaudid, like a ton of it. So I didn't let myself hold on to it, because why do I need a bottle
Right.
of pain pills when I'm hurting and I want them? Like, it's not like just because I'm sober, I didn't like the Dilaudid and how it made me feel, and it took away the pain too. I still, like, got high from it and like itched like you do and all the
Right. Right. All
stuff.
the things.
And I did like it, but I was also scared of it too. Like, I respected it, if that makes sense.
That
And
does
so
make
I
sense.
didn't hold
Yeah.
on to the medicine when I got discharged from the hospital. And I made a plan. We wrote it out, me and my dad, and my husband too. Like, we wrote out a detox or a wean off of it plan, because and anybody that takes pain medicine for more than a few weeks is going to get addicted to it. Like,
Yes.
physically, you're going to get a tolerance to it, I should say. Maybe not addicted to it, but you'll build up a tolerance, and you have to wean off of it safely. So that's what I did, and I got off of it before the plan time, because I was like, I felt like the longer I was on it, the more I was going to get addicted or
Right.
a tolerance to it. So, um, anyway, I got off of it, but some of my triggers today can still be pain. Like, I wake up some mornings and my neck hurts or my arm hurts or whatever, and I have access to it at the hospital because I get pain medicine all the time. But do I want to risk my nursing license to be at a little, like, because I'm
Right.
sorry, an oxycodone or whatever is not going to take away all the pain in the world, and it's not going to fix my problems. It's literally, I know that a drink of alcohol or one pill or anything is going to do anything but help me. It's going to literally make me feel comfortable for a couple of hours,
Right.
and then I will come to and be like, fuck, what did I do? And I just have to play the tape through, like they talk about, like, think about it. If I was to be in pain and I was to divert this pill that I'm about to give to a patient, which just diversion is what they call stealing
Right.
pills
Right. Right.
from the hospital. So say I did it, like, I might not get caught right the first time, but I will get caught because
Right.
of who I am. I know that I'm not going to be able to just do it one time. There is no one time
No.
for me. I've played that game
Yep.
for years, you know? So that can be a trigger for me, pain, but the trigger is not at it's called the Omnicell, where you pull the medication out. I have no temptation there. Like, I don't have temptation at work to steal the drugs at all. I feel totally protected there because I'm going to protect my job at all costs. I worked my ass off to get to
Right.
where I'm at today. So there's like literally no trigger there. People ask me that all the time. Like, how do you give out pain medicine? Or, you're not going to be able to go into nursing where there's pain medication around. You're going to have to go into like
Fucking
dialysis or
watch
do
me.
like
Yeah.
something else. And I'm like, no, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Watch me. Um, so the temptation's not there. Temptation can be an anger. Like, if I get in an argument with my husband, which we
Yes.
don't argue that much, but when I do, I get angry. Like, I rage out still. And that's like the way that I can still treat every once in a while my husband or my mom in my anger is a trigger for me, because I want to forget it.
Right.
I
Or
wish it
mine.
hadn't
Yep.
happened. And so
Right.
when I behave in a way that I hate, that's a trigger for me. But I'm still like, I don't think I'm going to go and drink over it, because, like, again, like, what's that going to fix? What is that going to fix?
That's
I can't
true.
imagine. I just can't imagine relapsing and losing everything.
And
Ugh.
that's a good point that you made, honestly, which is a good transition there. you almost subconsciously, and I don't know if you were actively saying that in your head, but you didn't mention it. But that was like a relapse awareness and avoidance or prevention plan that you were actively doing because you knew you were going to be in that
Yeah.
system. Like you're like, all right, well, I need the fucking pain meds. Like I need it. But like quality of life versus abstinence again is a big problem that a lot of people get narrow minded on. But having that access to mindfulness of I have access to this. I can do that all day long, especially like with weed too. Like it's medical, it's recreational. You can go out and buy a bunch of, ounce and just smoke it all in one sitting if you wanted to. No one's going to stop you. No one's going to stop you. And it's right there. Same with alcohol.
Yeah.
But like having that, something that I made in a rehab that helped me a lot was that relapse awareness of like, what do I normally do right before I drink? I normally isolate. What do and having these things in my head of like, okay, well, like you for like, okay, why do I need all of this medication? Like, so you already were aware, like, if I have access to this, are you saying that you're not strong enough? No, if you had the bottle, you probably still would have taken it, but why even fucking worry about it? Like, why even try to navigate that when you just be like, I can just put it over here away from me. And, you know, I guess the awareness of having a relapse at all times, like you, 12 years down the road, knowing that like, oh, I could just, you're not over here justifying anything, but you're actively aware. And that's so big to see too. It's not just like, well, I can do whatever I want now. I've done it. I can do it again. Like some people can't. Some people don't get that choice. And
Yeah.
that's dangerous. Like I know people that have a relapse on alcohol just alone, and everyone thinks it's just alcohol. But like I know someone personally that quit for over 30, 60 days, and then they died. They passed away because they relapsed again and then tried to do it again, and they couldn't do it by themselves. Like it's medically assisted stuff that you
Yeah.
need to lean on because sometimes it's not just, oh, well, my willpower will carry me. It's like that might be the case, and you might have a strong heart, but you could also have a seizure, a stroke. You could have so many things go wrong. So being aware of potential relapses or even in active recovery, just, hey, I need to slow down. Like you touched on earlier, like, let's just slow down today. Let's just take a day. We don't have to go just for today and not even drink. Maybe just for today, just think about drinking. When you're drinking, be like, okay, I'm mindful that I just had 6 instead of just grabbing beers. Now you're thinking about it. Like you're activating receptors in your brain that you don't normally bypass. You bypass it because it's just, let's get the dopamine. Let's make ourselves happy. And you got to break that cycle. And you're still doing it every day. It's so crazy to see that it's not just like, well, Amanda's got it figured out. It took her 6 years. What can you do? Now she's recovered and she's good to go. Like, no, it's
Mm-mm.
constant work. It's constant work.
Nope. Yep. And, another thing is I take medication today, psych meds. And it's like, why make it harder on myself if I don't have
Yes.
to? I talk about being mentally ill in the past, and I need medication. I do. It helps me a lot. And that can be another trigger for me too, is like doctors have tried to prescribe me Adderall and
Yes.
I don't need it.
Right.
I am a little bit ADHD, but I'm also bipolar, and I also loved Adderall.
Yes.
And doctors will prescribe that to me, and doctors will prescribe me like Xanax and stuff because I have severe panic attacks. But I have to be really, really mindful of what I'm taking. And and I do take an antidepressant, and I take something for anxiety. I take Buspar for anxiety, which is non addictive for me anyway.
Right.
So I'm not ashamed of that. And I share about that because there are tools that are out there, medicated assisted treatment, Suboxone. I really don't love people being on Suboxone long term because we just see so many like detrimental things and it's really hard to get off of. But I think it's a wonderful tool in the beginning. But now they've got Sublocade, which is supposed to be, is that shot that you get
Right.
once a month.
Yep.
They've got, yeah, so there's a lot of, and I can't remember the name of the one. It's a shot that makes you not crave other stuff, alcohol
Oh,
and
Vivitrol
everything.
or
I can't remember the
Vivitrol,
name
I
of
believe it
it,
is.
but
Yeah.
Vivitrol.
Yes.
Vivitrol. So there's all kind of stuff that can help people. And so I think when we use like, if you, and I know it's hard to trust doctors and the medical system and
Seriously.
everything like that, but they're tools. If you need it, you can reach out to it, for sure. And I'm really glad that you got insurance, so that should you decide that you
Yes.
ever needed anything, like you can do that. That's huge. I didn't have insurance in early recovery, working at a restaurant, like they didn't give it to us. So I just had to hope and pray nothing happened to me. And I did. I had stuff happen and I had medical bills out the wazoo. But I don't even know how, like, the hospital that I was at had something that helped people
Right.
take care of their medical bills if they were indigent. And I was like for many years homeless, and it's like, they saw my history. When you look at my history, it says I'm schizophrenic and everything. It's which I probably was, but it was probably drug related too. So
Right.
um anyway,
No, and
yeah.
that's kind of crazy
But
that
I'm not
you
ashamed to see a doctor.
you mentioned, yeah, no, and that's huge. That's huge. I'm working through that myself. This is the first time that I will see a doctor in like, 10 years. I haven't seen a dentist in over 20. Or 30 actually. When I was a kid, I ran out of the dentist when they turned on the drill, and that was the last time I seen that motherfucker. That was over for me. I'm
Oh
not doing that
man.
again. You're gonna have a drill in my face? No, I'm good. So that's, something that I have to navigate though. That's not somebody else's issue. I can lean on other people, but that's something that I just got to get used to. And I like how you talked about like, I guess, you were talking about how you have really bad anxiety attacks. So I want to touch on that because I have really bad anxiety. And that's kind of, my justification on smoking is like, I have really high anxiety at all times. So when I smoke,
Yep.
it brings me down to that level. But I know a lot of people, they will smoke and they'll be like, oh man, I can't really function. Like you would have no idea. In fact, you would know that I didn't smoke just because I'm angry. You'd be like, why is he so irritated right now? And I used to have Adderall and I used to have like when I was a kid. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but we can talk about how you said anxiety attacks. You still have them. So what are some things that you do? Because I'm still working on my coping mechanisms on, like, okay, the deep breaths, like I want to hear the one that works. I don't want to hear, okay, I take the 3 deep breaths and it always works. Cause like sometimes, and maybe, hey, you run through 5 options and it still doesn't work. But people need to know that 12 years down the road, this is still a tool. This may not work every time, or maybe this is something new that you never even thought of.
Oh man, that's a a question I don't know, because it's hard to remember tools in the moment.
Right.
I have had to call people to walk me through stuff to remind me to take a deep breath, because I do forget to breathe, and breathing is huge when you're having it, because you're not breathing,
You're
you're like
not.
you're not getting oxygen, and sorry, you need oxygen for your brain and your body to relax you. So that's huge. But there's been tools that I do different things, but sometimes like visualization, just name one thing that I see, one thing that I smell, one thing that I can hear, and just kind of like ground myself,
Right.
because when I'm having the anxiety, there my head is just going a million miles an hour. I'm crying. I'm um whatever. So usually I do reach out to somebody when I'm having one of those anxiety attacks and try to ground myself. But I don't know. I don't have the magic formula.
That's
I
right.
don't, I still go through it just like anyone else, and try different things. I just am patient, because it will go away. I love to tell myself this too shall pass,
Right.
because you're not going to feel that bad forever. I have to remember, like, because in the moment I feel like everything's fucked up. Life is over. Whatever it is, whatever's going on, it feels huge. It feels like I don't want to live anymore. Every time I have an anxiety attack, my head goes back to, I don't want to live anymore.
Yes.
This is too hard. And but I also know that this too shall pass today. So I've got a lot of faith that, like, I'm not going to actually follow through with doing anything, but I still tell somebody that I think about that.
Yes.
Um, Even though, like, sometimes, you can be scared. Hey, I really, like, don't feel like waking up today, and somebody could put you in the psych ward for that or whatever, but that you've got to tell somebody. And especially if you've got a plan. But that's the thing I don't make up. There's a difference in feeling like you don't want to live anymore and actively making a plan to
Yes.
do it, which I
Yes.
have done before too. I used to be a cutter, and I also have had one suicide attempt where I really did try, and I took the action and I took 120 milligrams of
Oh
Xanax
my
to try
gosh.
to, and it didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work. So that was crazy. Um, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. But that was um the only time that I was brave enough to take the action. And it was because I had been drinking, honestly. Like,
Yes.
the
Impaired.
drinking gave me the bravery to actually follow through with the action. It's scary. Alcohol is really scary, honestly,
Yeah.
because it's
And
such an easy thing to get, and
cunning,
it's so dangerous to
baffling.
detox off of.
Yes. Yes. No, and
It is. And it's so socially acceptable.
yes, it's so socially acceptable. No, it's crazy too, because
Yeah.
like you said it, you nailed it. There's no specific formula. There's nothing that's like, hey guys, try this new thing out and it'll work every fucking time, because it doesn't. And what works one day might not work the other day. You might not have all those resources. So the reaching out is the biggest part. And you said, the self-harm is huge. Like that's a big part that gets not talked out or talked about a lot just because it's uncomfortable. But you do, like you said, you kind of need a safe space. Like you need someone that's like actively knows, like, yo, are they just having a bad day, or do they really do need to get checked on? Because like, yes, some of us, like some people are mandated reporters. Some people have to say something or they will lose their jobs over it. So there's a safety net too, where
Yeah.
it's like you have to remember who you're talking to, but at the same time, it's like I don't want to limit myself and say, hey, you know, don't tell me this, because that's not healthy either. Finding that safe ground,
Yeah.
and then also having those coping mechanisms. But like you said, this too shall pass. That's something I'm learning every day. Feelings are temporary. I can't tell you a single time I've ever seen one person mad as fuck every single day or happy as fuck every single day. You're not just the same emotion every day. So knowing that and
No.
training yourself to be like, okay, I'm just mad today. Like, dude, sometimes you're just having a bad day. Sometimes you are. And like today, we had the roughest start and all, it's like setting all this up. Anna's trying to get her photography stuff ready. Dexter's breaking everything. It was just a shit show. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, man, I could let this just ruin it. Or I could just know that, hey, maybe everything's going wrong now. So everything can go right later, get it all out of the way. So we could have a successful little podcast and not have to worry about it. Or, Dexter could also blow through this door and ruin everything, and I just have to navigate that. But knowing the options, it's like, okay, what can we do? What can we do with this information? And also like knowing what I can control, because anxiety for me, I'm noticing, is control. Like I want to have control of my life. You can't have total control of anything really. And that's unhealthy to think. So even trying to control your emotions, you can control how you react to your emotions, but you're not going to just like, if you're sad, you're sad. You can't just be like, well, I'm happy now. You got to process that feeling. And that's something that I don't know how to do very well. So like
Yeah.
talking with you and learning how you've done it over 12 years and talking with other people that have done this is like, not only do we put it out there for the world, but it shows that like, hey, it's possible in early recovery and late recovery and active addiction even. It's not like we just woke up one day and that was the end. Like, and it's been easy ever since. We have gotten tools and a community, and the community is the biggest part. I think. I think that's what we're building towards right now, and that's like our common goal, which is why this will work. Is just we want that community. We want a space where people can talk about their problems and not feel alienated, and not feel like they need to stay inside this little bubble of like, oh, I'm going to get banned, or like, oh, what are they going to say? Like, if you want to come on here and talk about it, let's talk about it. If you want to dive into it, we can dive into it, but we can also just be here to hear it. It's like one of the healthiest things I've ever learned was helped, heard, or hugged. What do you need? Like, 'cause sometimes I just want to be helped. Like, sometimes I just want your help. I don't need you to just listen to me and say that sucks. Sometimes I just need you to listen to me and say that fucking sucks, bro. And then sometimes I don't need a fucking single word. I just need you to give me a hug and everything will be fine. But knowing the difference too, like I need to
Yeah.
know, because I don't know. Like I could come up to you and like that's my default to just give everyone a hug. But what if they're overstimulated and now you're giving them a hug and they're about to fucking lose their minds? Like it's just it's
Hmm.
in recovery. You're more mindful of your actions, and you're more honestly in my experience, I'm more critical of myself. Like, oh shit, am I doing this right? Oh, am I being a good person today? What did I do for someone today? And it's like I don't always have to, but like you said, filling your cup, like you helping other people, like makes you happy. So it's like I
Hmm.
don't do this for, okay, like we're gonna make so much money. No, it's like I do this because down the road we're gonna have that call. It's like, hey man, I got 3 days today, and I can stop what I'm doing in that day and be like, holy shit, bro, you did it. This is the start, and it's okay if you relapse, dude. Now you're aware, and
Hmm.
now that you got through those 3 days, now your next goal is 4, and then you just keep pushing that a little bit further. These micro goals are so big for me because I am so ambitious but I need little payoffs. I need something that's like, I can't have the biggest dream in the world and then not have little, exciting moments on the way. So it's like, I have to be like, all right, well, I did all the chores today. Now I have
Yeah.
nothing to do. So building a support system with the community is kind of the baseline, but I think we haven't established just, I don't know what I guess the word is. We have the space and we have people that are passionate about it. Now it's more so
Yeah.
of just keeping it that way because again, we're both kind of struggling with what can we say on social media? How do we not get banned? And it's like that's so wild to think of that you can do anything in this world right now, corrupt, but you can't talk about your addictions online. So we're just working on
Amen. Amen.
that.
Yep. Yeah. And I think it's going to be so much more helpful for people to have this podcast because, you might see little clips of me that say like, hey, I'm a 7-time felon and today I'm a nurse. And that's all you see. And you're like, hey, that's cool for her.
Yes.
Wow. That could never happen for me. But like when you're sitting here and you realize that, hey, Amanda's actually a human, who's like worked her butt off and still has anxiety attacks and still like,
Yes.
is whatever, like how much more can you relate to that than just like a highlight reel that shows like, hey, look at me, which is not why I share it. I share it because I want other people to have dreams and goals and aspirations and realize that you can accomplish literally anything you want to, anything you work towards. But I say anything, and I know that everyone can't become a nurse because of their backgrounds. There's things that will hold you back. So, but I mean, anybody can like chase their dreams and their goals and,
Yes.
shit can line up for them and you can anyone can stay sober. I believe that anyone can change with the right, desires and actions and all of that. So that's why I share. It's not so much to show off, but I feel like being able to be real and talk on this podcast is going to be able to help more people. For real. It helped me,
Yes.
like, just to hear people like that were real and raw and just like me. That way I could relate more and have more hope and be like, you know what? They are like me. I can do that too. So that's another thing, not just the restrictions, but how it's going to be able to be more thorough and just down to earth. We're humans.
Yeah.
We're going through it too, man.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
And we're not building crazy scripts and we're not doing, we maybe have some cues here and there of questions that we might try to remember, but it'll just be us. And it's funny that you say that too, because like I've gotten so much good feedback of like people are like, we are not even established yet. And people are like, hey, how do I get on the podcast? What do I do? I want to talk about my problems. And I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like that's so cool that you could say that, but it's like also like let's do a little backtrack. Like, have you talked about this to anyone else? Like, so also being mindful of like, okay, do you want your first experience to kind of unpack all this on a podcast that could potentially be, it's available around the world. So being mindful of your story too, because like your voice matters no matter what. But there's certain spaces that like, maybe we talk about it first. Maybe we say, hey, like maybe you got some stuff that you like. I don't want you to, come into here and start talking about your traumas. And next thing you know, you're depressed for 3 weeks because you brought it all back up. So also just
yeah.
respecting yourself and knowing that, you do have a place and you do have a voice and not everyone wants to be loud about it. And that's so fine. That is so fine. You can recover silently for the rest of your life. And that is so admirable to me.
Mhm.
But you could also be loud and some people that are
Absolutely. And
loud.
that's what I was going to do. Absolutely. Yeah. That's what I was going to do was recover quietly and hide who I was because I was going to be a nurse. And I did during nursing school very much until I got my nursing license and even into my career just a little while. I was silent about it. And my recovery was just as valid as it is today, where I'm recovering loudly, and trying to share my story. It's all about I think it just changes. I love when people say recovery is not linear. There's so many places
Yes.
where it's going to change and grow and shit's going to happen and life's going to happen. And recovery is a roller coaster, but I generally think it heads up in the up direction, the longer you stay sober. So, and I say sober as like interchangeably, recovery, sober, all of that. Like, I don't mean necessarily, sometimes the terminology can get it twisted. Like
Right.
if, you do use medication or anything like that, people might say you're not sober. I just use the terms interchangeably. So I don't want to get anyone confused on that. But I do agree with it all. I support all paths to recovery. And I think anybody that's trying to, be a better person than they were yesterday is a winner, honestly. And
Facts.
that's all we can do is do our best and try to be a better person than we were. And, you can't be better than you are, and you can't make something happen that's not meant to happen. So, all you can do is try and not be so hard on yourself. A lot of us alcoholics and drug addicts are really perfectionists and want to just get recovery right, and you may not get it right the first time. Like you sound like you gave yourself one time. And, it took me, I went to rehab 13 times, and I wish I'd gotten it on my first try, but it happened when it was supposed to in God's timing. You know what I mean? And there are people that do it on their first try. And I think that's going to be you. Like, I really do believe in you. I think because you're doing the right things. You're not just like riding some high, that's what's dangerous about the pink cloud. Like, I love
Yes.
it, ride it out, but you also got to take the actions to like have that. When that pink cloud drops, what are you going to be doing? What are you going to rest on? Where's your foundation? You got to have some kind of foundation. So I really do believe in you because you're building that foundation, you're taking the action, and you have the desire to help others. And so I think you're going to get it on the first try, but like it's never ever guaranteed. And so it's a healthy thing to remember. I know we've already talked about that, but it is a healthy thing to remember is like you got to keep taking these actions in order to stay in recovery and just keep working on yourself and feeling better about yourself and learning to love yourself. And loving yourself is really hard.
Really hard.
I still don't love myself every day, but it's really hard. But I'm learning
I think that's a
slowly to learn myself. Love
yeah,
myself.
I think that's the biggest struggle is loving yourself when you were so shitty for so long to yourself and others. And like, we don't really think about ourselves a lot, we're like, oh, well, I hurt everyone else, but like we self-destructed for so long that it's like so much easier for us to be like, well, I hurt my mom or I hurt my dad or I hurt my spouse. But like really you caused massive damage to ourselves for so long and neglected that part too. So like respecting
Oh,
that too. And
so true.
yeah, respecting that and remembering like, yeah, and like you like the one thing that and again we'll do a little disclaimer on all of these different programs. We're not advocating or shitting on anything. They're just out there. They're just out there and they're accessible. And I do encourage people to find a program because realistically it takes a village, right? You're not there's gonna be a day where that phone call could save you that 15 minutes of distraction. We're not unloading our life. Sometimes I've had phone calls that are fucking 3 hours long. And not once during that phone call did I think, man, I got to get off this phone. I'm thinking the whole time, dude, this fucking every minute is a win. Every single minute I'm on the phone. He's happy. He's healthy. He's okay. I know he's good or she or whoever they are, but they're good. But I gave myself that option of like, don't hesitate to call me, and sometimes that's biting me in the ass. Like 3 a.m. phone calls happen. But that's okay. I separate myself. I put the boundary back up and I say, okay, look, man, if they're calling me at 3 a.m., they're either fucking hammered, going through it, or they need me and they're sober. Either way, I need to answer the phone, but I need to know what I'm dealing with and I need to be in the right space. I
Yeah.
can't answer the phone and be like, what the fuck do you want, dude? Because that could be the last time I talk to him. But I built that
Yeah.
up. I reached out to people like you and other people just to where like when I feel that low, like I will make it known because sometimes all it takes is you saying like, hey, you're doing a fucking awesome job. I think you can do this. You're doing great. And I'm like, oh shit. I haven't told myself that ever really. So like retraining your brain, like we need to hear that positive reinforcement. And sometimes changing your community and your environment is that key. Because like, I don't hit up Amanda and say, hey, I'm going through it. And she's like, fuck me, me too, buddy. And then, like we're both aware, like we're both, maybe I am going through it, but like, hey, I'm going through it. Oh man, me too. You first though. Like, and we're actually concerned. We're not like this fake, okay, well, fuck, Terry's going through it
Yeah.
again. Like, no, it's like, oh shit, like this is good. This is the pivotal moment every time. It's okay. Can this make it? Cause like one of those times, there was a day on my early recovery. I shit you not, I have 65 fucking numbers on my phone from rehab. 65. I went down that list and
Dang.
texted 40 of them. I didn't want to call them yet because again, that was my burden. I wasn't like, I don't want to call them. That's so hard to jump, but I did do the text and I texted 40 of them. And one of them texted back By the time they texted back, though, I was already down to the 40th, and I almost lost hope. And I just like I already processed all my shit. I'm like, all right, well, I'm reaching out. I'm reaching out. I'm reaching out. I'm like, what am I reaching out for? Like, wait a minute. What am I even gonna tell them? And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I fucking all I need is me right now for a minute. But sometimes I did need that, but I needed that clarity of like, okay. And then my buddy's like, dude, you good? Calls me immediately, like, you got that safety net, but build that because one person can save your life. Like Anna saved my life. The only reason I was allowed to go and be able to do this is because we were able to do that. So like it's circumstantial. Not everyone's just gonna be like, well, I want to get sober today. It's not always just that easy, but being mindful of that is so huge. And just being like, okay, I do have an option. That is there. Like that is a route that I can take. How do we navigate it? I don't fucking know. Let's figure it out together. Like I'm learning every day. You know, I don't know how to do anything in the healthcare system. I don't know how to do any of this shit. I'm like, you know, like my taxes, I got to set up a payment plan for it. It's all like, it feels like it's like, okay, well, everything's going to fucking suck, but that's fine because it sucks. Like it doesn't suck. Active addiction suck where like, I don't want to live anymore. I'm excited to push through that. Like get to the point where I'm 41 and I have a guest house I can sit in, you know, and I have, you know, I could do these things.
And you will.
Yeah. And that's the plan though. And that's like showing people that it's possible is so huge because before I met you and before I'd seen these other people, all it was influencers. And I literally thought they were just shitting wild stories. Like, hey, buy my book. Buy my book. It works. Like, dude, that's cool. And like, we're going to have stuff that you can purchase. It's going to be super, super cheap and super accessible. And it's just going to be easy. But that's not like, we're not pushing our agenda on you. Like, that's also like, if you want that tool and you want to support us, awesome, do it. But we didn't necessarily use that. We're going to put those tools that we've used in a book that's accessible. And it's just an awareness thing where you just be mindful of yourself. That's the growth.
Exactly. I love that you reached out to all those people because that phone can weigh 10,000 pounds sometimes, you know?
So much.
I used to, woo, and get you a sponsor. If you're going to do a sponsor route, like whoever's listening, if you're going to do a sponsor route, get you somebody you can call because there are mean people out there that literally every single day the phone is going to weigh 10,000 pounds because they might answer the phone and say, what do you want today? I've had a sponsor that would do that.
Facts.
Like, she was like the top dog of the home group I was in, you know, the really like respected lady that sponsored everybody. But you would call her and she'd say, what do you want? And she was mean. And that was not good for my mental health or my recovery. So find you somebody that you can talk to. You know, there's plenty of cool, nice people that you can relate to and stuff. But you don't even have to do the sponsor route. That's what we're saying. There's so many tools and you really can find what works for you. I love that saying, take what you need and leave the rest,
Yes.
you know. And not everybody's going to believe that. They're going to say you have to believe every 163 pages of the big book. You know, there's people that believe every word. And I do think that it was probably God inspired and everything like that. But I mean, Bill Wilson was just a person too that wrote that book while he was on LSD. So, you know,
the secret's out now.
The best we can. But it's true.
It is true. No, and a lot of people don't.
As far as I know. I guess I wasn't there, but.
Right. And, you know, a lot of the work that they did is based in a lot of recovery programs, and it's there because it works. You know, and the biggest part of every single recovery program that I've ever seen is you admitted that you had a fucking problem and you couldn't do it alone. It's not like if you had the idea, if you're walking through and you're listening to this today and you're like, man, I don't have a problem. I can fix this right now. Fucking do it. Show me. Show me right now that you can do it. If you are that strong and you said, I don't have a problem, I can do it myself, prove every single recovery program wrong and show me and build your own because that's impressive. And I'm not even shitting on it. Like that's impressive. I've never seen, there's a reason they got together. Like they literally seen no alternative. And there's certain things in the big book that I don't stand by. And there's certain things that, you know, again, like you said, take it and leave it. Take what you need. Make your own recovery. If you get a fucking sponsor that starts being like that, like I've heard that horror story so many times. My first sponsor was over online and he's the best guy I've ever met in my entire fucking life. He's the best human being I've ever talked to. He's navigating so much alone and he's doing it. And he was actively helping me find someone like, you know, and if I told him I fell off the wagon, he wouldn't shame me. Like you got to find someone that's working with you, not working for you, working with you because it's your recovery. It's not
Yeah.
What worked for them is not going to just work for you instantly unless you guys are fucking clones and everything that you guys have experienced is the exact same, which again, if you have experienced that, please let us
Yeah.
know. I would love to have you. That'd be great.
Yeah. Well, how exciting is it to like be building your life? You know, you're new in recovery. You've got all these things that you've got to overcome, the taxes, the healthcare stuff, all of that. But you are like, you're just leveling up. I used to be so excited from when I was in early recovery. I was excited every time I leveled up and would do
Yes.
something better to help myself and like got through the taxes and got through the dental work and got through, you know, these just little goals. It felt so good to like start just building myself, and it still does. Like doing this podcast today feels great. You know, I'm
Yes.
staying sober
Yes.
today because I'm doing something for my sobriety, and you know, I love it. So I'm really glad that we're doing this today and that we finally took not even finally, we did this quick. We
Just
really made
quick.
this happen, you know, and I think that's really cool. But that's how it is. That window of willingness can be short sometimes. And if you jump on it and take the action, that's where the magic happens.
Yep.
So,
That's facts. And we could have easily made an excuse. I mean, it was that easy. All it takes is one hiccup to piggyback off of, and you could say, well, it didn't line up today. Oh, well, I've been trying to start this podcast for years, but, our schedules don't line up. Dude, we don't even live in the same fucking state. If you want it to work, you can make it work. But again, that window of willingness is so huge. And that goes with everything in your entire life. Like, even finding a new job
mhm.
or, you like new sobriety. Like, yeah, this is all crazy. Like leveling up is wild to think about because, I struggled in the beginning of this. Like a lot of these programs are like, hey, when you're in rehab, they're like, hey, get out there, 90 and 90, be of service. And I'm like, fucking A, let's do that. But also I have social anxiety. So 90 and 90 online, baby, like, let's go. And I've probably attended I got 141 days. I have attended over 100 meetings. Like I have gone crazy with it. I stay connected. I attend meetings that I don't
Yeah.
even align with just because I want to know. And touching on that, the leveling up, like I'm doing peer support right now, a certification through the state of Missouri. And that's just for me. Like that's not like I don't have a job lined up yet. And like the jobs that pay for that, let's talk about that. They're paying like $16 an hour, and the certificate's 40 hours long.
Yes. Shit.
Yeah, but it's what I do. Like I want that. Like like I want those skills. And like it sets a container, it sets a space, and it tells me things like even ethnic backgrounds that I wouldn't be aware of. Like I had no idea if you sit cross-legged and like point your shoe towards someone, that's disrespectful in some cultures. So it's like being aware of these things. I'm learning it. So like I'm leveling it up. But
Yeah.
finding the value in yourself too is hard, especially when you're like, oh, well, I've been a fucking drunk my whole life. Like, cool, yeah, but I've been a drunk my whole life. Like, dude, that means I committed to something for 10 plus years and I was awesome at it. I was really good at it. I was a functioning alcoholic. I got raises. I did awesome. I'm struggling more sober than I did when I was actively fucking my life up because, A, I was in the bar industry. I was good at it. I know how to deal with people. I'm good at that shit. It's easy for me. Where someone's like freaking out and they're in the weeds, I'm over there. Let's shake up 16 cocktails and serve them out. I don't give a fuck. This is fun. And, now I'm on the other side where like I could do it still. And I think personally, like humbly speaking, I think I could walk into a bar and be an awesome bartender still. Do I want to? Fuck no, because I have a problem with it now. And it's like in my mind, I build a relationship with my friend across the bar and now I'm feeding him fucking poison, putting him into a situation that he could abuse it and turn out like me back in active addiction. And I can't do that mentally. So it's like, all right, now I'm doing Spark and I'm doing things on the side. Like there's a whole avenue of that we could discuss in an episode of like alternative means of making money if you have a vehicle. If you don't have a vehicle, there's 211 and the options they have.
Yep.
There's so many things that I didn't fucking know. And it took a village to tell me. And that's what we're creating is the village because your story matters, my story matters, Enrique's story matters, everybody's story matters, but not everyone has the space, the courage, the support to talk about it. And building this is what it's really all about, is making sure, limitless recovery. That's like what I mean, what's next for you, Amanda? What's next? Like you're not saying, well, this is it. You're not saying, well, I made it to RN, done. Like, no, you're limitless. You're just going. You're still going constantly. And it's so inspiring to show like, hey, you can do that too. You can do that, but it takes that willingness, and the difference between will and willingness, and what you will do versus what you're willing to do. I think that's huge for me too.
True. Oh yeah, I've had to pray to be willing to be willing to be willing to do
Yes.
anything, you know what I mean? Just ask for the willingness, but we have the willingness and the taking the action. And so yeah, what do I want to do in life? I'm starting a podcast. What do you want to do in life? It is limitless. It really is. If we have the opportunity here, we're sober today, so we can chase
Facts.
whatever we want to. And so I think I love the name Limitless Recovery. I think we chose the perfect name, and I hope that like inspires others to know that anything is really possible in your
Yes.
recovery. Write yourself a bucket list. That's what I did. Wrote myself a bucket list and started like seeing what was possible. And I challenged myself and wrote stuff that was I thought was impossible. And then God was like, "Watch me."
Yeah.
And I literally like have done every single thing on my. I'm going to share that bucket list that I wrote. It was on the day I got out of jail is when I wrote it. So it's time for me to write another one. Is what I got to do because limitless. Limitless, dude.
How's the progress on it? Are you getting close to like, or how ambitious was that bucket list?
I mean, I was 300 pounds when I got sober, and I wrote on there to run a marathon. So, like, that's crazy because that was impossible, but it happened. I did it. I
To
ran
do
it
that.
in honor of my brother who passed away, actually. And I didn't say be a nurse. I didn't think that was possible, but to get a college degree, I thought that would be impossible because I've been to college. I'm a 4-time dropout, but, I just wanted it to happen. I'm like, and then one of the things was to take my mom to Hawaii because that was on her bucket list. And like, where was I supposed to get the money for that? But it's been less than a year ago. I took my mom to Hawaii and we had the time of our
That's
lives.
so
So,
cool.
anything's really, yeah, yeah. So dream big. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. And we don't know what direction we're going all the time. And this is dynamic. Everything changes. And we're very aware of that. That was the coolest part about, we threw the logo together in about, I don't know what it take us, like 30 minutes maybe. Like it was so quick and it works.
Yeah.
So it was not like, that's the thing is like, we would know. You would know if it didn't work out, like, cause like, did we butt heads? Was it like, all right, I don't like this design. Like we actually worked through it so quick and it was like, yep. And it just aligned. So it was one of those things where, again, just go and do it, figure it out. And we're going to have kinks to work out. We're going to have bloopers. We're going to have things, maybe our audio is trash in the beginning. Maybe we work on it. We're not perfectionists, but diving in is what the point of it is. It's just to dive in, make mistakes, grow from it, be able to look back. Maybe episode 100, we look back and we can play clips from this one and be like, what the fuck were we doing? And it's like, well, I don't know. We didn't know what we were doing, but that's the coolest part is we just went out and did it. And that's the same with sobriety, the same with recovery, the same with everything. Just go out and do it. Like, in early recovery, the reason we even got connected is I just reach out. I don't give a shit anymore. No is great to me. That means you gave me an answer. So I'm going to continue to reach out to, celebrities and other people. And just, again, that's the thing that I can't think of. How do you have access to everything in the world and like not be addicted still, but like not have the option to get out? Like you're choosing, like you have, like where other people would say, man, if I had fucking money, I wouldn't do this. Okay. What about the celebrities that are actively relapsing, that have everything they could possibly have, the mansion, the beach, the
Mm-hmm.
everything? You don't think like
Mm-hmm.
it's struggle is struggle, brother. Like we're all in it to fucking together. This is not just, well, he had money. Like, no, mental illness does not care how much money you have or how successful your family is. Addiction does not
Nope.
give a shit. So it's
Nope.
also showing that, hey, like one day down the road, we might have someone that's super famous and they're like, yo, it's possible. And I'm going to be sitting here fanboying out what, like, we're sitting next to who? And that's just showing, again, the limitless of it. Like, don't limit yourself and don't say, well, I couldn't do that because the only thing stopping you is you. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited for this. I feel like this is a good place to wrap up episode 1 and we can keep recording.
I think so as well. What we will do, we will try this out again. This could be very variable. Everything will change. I believe again, this will all be bookmarked. We should be able to break it down a little bit. There'll be clips available as well. What we'd like to try to incorporate is just remembering the ones that we didn't get to experience this with right now. Some people are still in active addiction loss. Some people have lost their
Yeah,
lives. So we'll just take a minute each time and just take a little moment of silence. We don't want to add names and we don't want to open up wounds that are already maybe closed, but we want to keep that space respected. So we'll give each episode about maybe a 10-second closing silence, and then we will say our goodbyes. And from there, we hope to see you again very shortly. But we will go ahead and start the timer. We got a short
absolutely.
countdown, and we will start it now. All right, guys, thank you so much. Again, this is Hoagie. We are with Limitless Recovery. This is me closing out, and I will swap it over to Amanda. So fun.
Yeah, thank you so much, you guys, for listening. This is Amanda, the most wanted RN, and we cannot wait to share more with you guys. So thank you so much for listening, everyone.
Thanks, y'all. Have a great night or day or whatever time it is for you.